Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony. I'm one of the four hosts of Hard Knock Hawks. This is going to be a podcast about the Atlanta Hawks, and we'll also talk about the NBA. This is our first episode, and we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff today. But generally, it's going to be about our expectations for the season and about lineups and other things. It's just a lot of general stuff today. But before we do that, I think we're gonna introduce ourselves to everyone, so you know who we are, and you know our get a feel of our personalities, so you'll get to know us better throughout the season. So I'm Anthony. I've been a Hawks fan since 2008. I remember singing like the nosebleed seats in Phillips Arena when that was what State Farm Arena was called back in the day. It getting scared, right? And I like the Joe Johnson's team, but like a lot of people, I wasn't really considered a true Hawks fan because I felt like the team didn't really have a star. Um, I really started to relate to the team when um, Trey got drafted because I felt that Trey and his play style was like just really attractive, and I just loved how he played. And ever since now, I just became really more focused on the team, and that's when I just started paying more attention to the Hawks. Does anyone want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. This is Chris. I stopped watching the Hawks when they didn't take Chris Paul. But then when they got Jeff Teague, I kind of came back. I was a big fan of his game, the way he played, his style. But since watching his pod, I've actually kind of been mad at it. But yeah, the Teague, Joe Johnson, Al Horford, Paul Millsap era kind of brought me back in. Uh, I was really excited when we got Trey, and that's kind of when I really would say became a diehard Hawks fan, and yeah, been riding with the boys ever since, for richer or poorer, till death do us part.
All right, I think I'll go next. Age showing a little there, Chris. Said since we didn't take Chris Paul, that's a long ass time ago. But name's Marco, Marcus, whatever you want to call me. I really don't care. I could go by both. Been a Hawks fan since I own a Mike Bibby jersey, by the way, so that's all you need to know. Been a Hawks fan since then. Don't know why I have a Mike Bibby jersey, but I wasn't really invested into them deeply until we got until the 2016 for real. Then I started keeping up with us more and more because funny enough, I used to be a Charlotte fan, but hey, but we're here now. I'm back in my hometown, so yeah,
Cue the boo noises.
it's up to you, Leon.
Yeah, man. I've been struggling with these Hawks since my pops was yelling to tell Josh Smith not to take that jumper. Many late nights, many West Coast trips in the past. I've been suffering. I've been there for the highs and the lows. Really happy to see what this team does moving forward, especially going into next season. Seems like we've made some mistakes, but the stars may be aligning for the All Hawks, man. So Trey Bays unite.
Yeah,
It does seem like a common theme with a bunch of us here is that it's just our Hawks fandom just kind of dissipated at some point. I do want to ask y'all: do you think with this new era, well, not necessarily new era, but do you think like the Hawks will be able to get it right for the most part with Trey Young with some of their recent decisions lately?
Well, I do think the Hawks have kind of finally bought back into the formula they kind of stumbled upon during the Travis Schlenk, Lloyd Pierce era with the shooting, and having some finishers around Trey and some athletes. And hopefully they can kind of get a little bit of the motion back in and channel what they did in 2021. I like what Landry and them are doing. I think they have a vision, and I think ownership is finally bought in, so they might have a chance to really see it through. I know a lot of people want it to be right now, but I think over the next couple years, you could see this team kind of round out into what they want to be. But it's not easy or quick in the NBA all the time. And yeah, I think they're finally doing what they have to do, eating their vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go ahead?
Oh, go ahead. You can go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like the recent moves. We finally picked a direction, but I feel like the direction that we picked kind of came a little too later than needed, but it's still a direction. I think everybody in the front office knew that if you want Trey to succeed, you have to add size around him. You have to add some decent shooters and some kind of spacing, and it worked in 21. That's why we went to the Eastern Conference Finals. You had Trey, you had a big that could shoot, and all that good stuff. So I do like the direction we have picked. Hopefully, it leads into a bigger picture, and it isn't, we're just doing this for now, then we reset again like we do every year. But yeah, I'm happy with the moves we've made so far.
It's just that, like it seems like despite the reputation of the East being such a weak conference, the East is trying to basically build up itself more lately. Like the Knicks are trying to like be this contender now that can beat the Celtics. Obviously, the Celtics are this big powerhouse. The Pacers just went to ECF, and they're basically running back, hoping on development. And other teams like the Magic got KCP. So, do you guys think like the Hawks could potentially even reach these heights in like the next year or two, maybe with players like Reese Shea and Jalen?
Chris,
Maybe,
yeah, who wants that first?
maybe.
Leon,
I
you got it.
think that, I think that you've done what you needed to do. I think when you have a small point guard, and if he's going to be, if not your best player, one of your best players, you have to surround that player with length at every position, size, connectivity, good finishers, good shooters. That's what had to happen. That always was what had to happen. That's what got you. That's what got you to the highest highs that you have been with this, generational talent that wears number 11. So uh, it I don't look at it as a timeline of, oh, we need to be there in 1 or 2 years. That's not how I view it. I just feel that you have to put the pieces around the players that, like, you have to build a team, right? And you have a couple pieces here and there, and you have to continue to build out. And we'll get into that a little bit later, when it comes to, rotations and where we think the pieces fit, because you have shuffled the pieces a little bit. But I think they're moving in the right direction. Right, at the end of the day, you got size, length, and shooting, and that's how everybody else is winning. So why not put all that around your small point guard?
Yeah, I will say, to tack on to what Leon said there at the end, what everybody else is doing. One, this is the most copycat I think I've seen the NBA be in a long time. I think you've seen teams kind of try to counter what the best team was doing before, like in the Shaq era, people were loading up on bigs. But now everyone's just trying to play the exact same brand of basketball. You see the Knicks trying to build out the same team that the Celtics have built out. Um, the Hawks are kind of buying into that and trying to build out the same thing. You get in the off ball defender and Shea, you get the on ball defender, and Dyson is kind of your OG or Mikhail, whichever one you want to say that is. But yeah, everybody's trying to copy each other. Now, I do want to address one thing Ant mentioned, was that the East um, has been seen as weak. I think that changes moving forward. I think the West is old. They have some established names, but I don't know that those teams are really ready to win. I think the Eastern Conference teams did a lot in terms of shoring up their duos and adding on. Right, the Sixers got Paul George. The Celtics added Kristaps last year. The Knicks went out and got OG, and then they brought in McHale, and now they've got Towns, so they've got really good pieces around a big time duo.
Mhm.
Got the Magic, they've got Paolo and Franz, who are both now coming into their own with KCP. Right, there's a lot of teams in the East that are really geared up to take a step forward. So I think this is a tough conference. So if the Hawks aren't there this season, I think it's understandable. This is a conference that has been kind of building towards this for a while. They were younger than the Western superstars, but now you're seeing these guys kind of come into their prime. The Knicks finally got their guy. The Sixers, Embiid is in his prime. The Celtics finally broke through. So I think the East could be the better conference this year, but and I don't think the Hawks are underpowered. I think they finally have the defenders they need to really compete, and I think it'll be an interesting season. I think the next couple years you can really see that team that Leon would mention kind of grow together and improve. So I think that's kind of the vision. And you're getting through a tough Eastern Conference, I think, right now. So they got a tough road ahead of them, but it'll be fun. It's gonna be a fun season.
Yeah, to follow up what Chris said, I feel like the East is stronger per se now than the West because like you said, the West have a lot of established names already, a lot of old heads. That's how I'm gonna say it. They have a lot of old heads there. You got LeBron, you got KD. You know, they're at the point where the slightest touch is giving them injury now. You know, LeBron is missing a decent amount of time. KD has missed some time. You know, so we're gonna call the West the retirement home side at this point because that's basically what it is. But then you still have the old heads that can still hoop out their ass, which is also Braun and KD, and you know it just injury changes everything for them. But the way the East is going right now, and the way most of the league is going, I say in about a year or two, all of the younger teams will be on top, and I feel like the Knicks. I know we've this kind of not Hawks really, but I feel like the Knicks kind of bought in too early because they kind of have the aging wings. Like Mikhail is still solid. I haven't seen him really get hurt for real, for real. But OG missed a lot of time last year. And, you know, Cat is Cat. Um, he's still young, but he's getting to that point where he's entering his prime or already is in his prime and like exiting prime. So I feel like the Hawks, if they continue the younger trend right now, like you said, Trey just turned 26, I think 26, 25, 26.
Yeah, he just turned 26.
Yeah, Trey just turned 26. Reese is only 18. Dyson is already seasoned, but he's only 21, but he's been in the league for 2 years now, going on three. So, you know, he's already seasoned. Jalen, most improved player candidate, already on the come up. So, you
But
know,
Marco, Trey's 26. Why doesn't he have 5 rings?
hey man. Hey man, you know, it just happens like that, man, you know. But like I said, you got the young. You keep going with the young. The name of the game right now is to get the good young players while you can still get them before they're on a contract, like before they're on that next big contract. So I feel like they keep going this direction. It's fine.
Well, you guys mentioned that, or I mean, Marco, you mentioned that this team is the Hawks is a relatively young team compared to like a lot of the Eastern teams and the Western teams. So I think for me, it's just that for the Hawks, like, yeah, like for where they want to get to, the younger players have to make some kind of jump in order to actually be successful and to be where like the Hawks actually want to be. But the question for me is that are we just putting too much on them right now for where they are currently, or
Um,
is it just too much?
I'll answer this first.
Yeah,
No.
go ahead.
The only person I'm probably putting too much pressure on realistically is Shea, but I'm also giving him the benefit of him playing overseas basketball since he was 15 professionally. His shot chart is already good enough for an NBA shot chart, I feel. Um, I've said it multiple times, and I'm going to say it on record since it's recorded. I expect him to have a Keegan Murray type rookie season, especially playing with Trey. You're going to have nothing but open looks. So other than that, Dyson's already proven himself. He's a top three defender in almost every category, top three deflections, top three guard matchup, blah blah blah, blase. Jalen's already proven himself. We know what he can do with the ball in his hands. He's a top 10 wing stopper. He had probably was the best defender last year on the Hawks. So, you know, I feel like the young guys will get it done where we need them to get it done. It's just always a matter of staying healthy with us.
Well, I have an issue with the question, right, is like, are we putting too much? It depends on what you're putting on them, right? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't even
that's
know
fair.
what the
Yeah, that's
Hawks.
fair.
goal is this season, right? Because Quinn Snyder never says anything. Even if he does say something, it's a lot of words, but he never says anything. So I don't know what their individual goals are for players. I personally don't even know what. It's easy to say, like, yeah, I want them to win the East, but obviously I don't think that they're a team that's built to win the East right now. My expectation, I've been stuck at 40 wins for a while. I know they're at some point they're going to probably get around there. And do they push through to get over 40 wins? Most likely. So for me, no, I'm not putting too much on that team. I don't think I'm not expecting them to be a top 4 seed right now. I think if they are going in and telling the guys, like, look, we know we're going to have our ups and downs this season. Like, ride with us. Let's figure this out, right? Because the teams that have won get through the developing years, and they play together for a little while, right? They have a coach who has his core group, and he has a few years to build that out. Or at least you have a GM that's around for a while, like in the Celtics case, and you have a singular vision that actually gets hammered out, and the players that you brought in actually have some time to develop, right? So, no, I'm not putting on much on them now. In a few years, yeah, I would love to see this blossom into whatever their vision is, right? But yeah, I don't think the Hawks are expecting 50 wins this season. I think the players are probably delusional enough to think that they can win 50 games because they're professional athletes, and that's why they went pro instead of doing their homework. So I think these guys are going to have an interesting season. They're going to have some growing pains, ups and downs. They have a number 1 pick. Zach might be good. We don't know, but it also could take him some time. So we'll see. Zach and Dyson probably going to decide what happens for this team and how many wins above 40 they get. And
I do think this team can be a top 6 seed because, like, the improvements they made on defense and getting players like Ricochet and Dyson will probably help this team a lot more than I think people expect. And trading DeJounte, who he is a good player, but trading DeJounte, they had a terrible net rating and it just didn't work. And the problem with the Hawks for like the past 2 seasons was that they constantly had to
Hold
play.
on, Ant. I'm sorry. You remember they had the worst net rating
Yeah,
of
I was
2
about to
All
say that.
Stars ever.
Yeah,
it's actually impressive. Yeah.
and they
Ever.
constantly had to play with them all the time
Best
together,
at being the worst.
which was a big issue with how bad they were.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and
I
not
think,
being able to do that now, like it probably frees up so much for this team.
yeah,
And
I do agree that there's some aspect of addition by subtraction, but the issue with that is like one reason why I haven't said, if you notice, I have not said that at all this summer on Twitter because you will have people dunking on you the second they don't win 10 games to start the season because we don't know when that actually will come to fruition, right? Yes, they like removed this bad lineup, but these guys still have to learn how to play together. So even if they did add by subtracting DeJounte, it might not come to fruition right away, and it might take some time. And then year 2, you really see, okay, yeah, that lineup was really bad, but now these guys have come together. They have the pieces they need, but it's still going to take some time, right? They got to learn how to play together. Hopefully, they're getting all that in now, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna take some time, Chris. It's gonna take some time, but the Hawks still gonna win 47 games this season.
Oh,
On
oh,
record?
I'm
On record?
standing pat
damn,
at 47
oh,
games.
business.
Okay.
I think one of the reasons I feel this way is I've looked at the schedule and it's not really crazy until the last 10 games of the season, and then there's this stretch in January, right? That's pretty tough. I believe that's the big West Coast trip. So if you can get all the kinks out and say, stay a couple games above 500 going into the new year, you know, then you go on a run just like 2021 where the guys are clicking. Kobe looks like a real backup point guard. Dyson has a 3 ball. Jalen Johnson understands how he is the number 2, and Zach knows that when this ball hits your hands, you need to shoot that shit. I think you have, like I said, I think Quinn said it after a number of losses last season. We're just small, right? You got
Mm-hmm.
You're starting Wesley Matthews at the 5. You're playing Garrison Matthews 20 minutes at the 3. It's just not going to work. Like it's just not going to work against it's a size and length league. So you have to have that size and length at the end of the day. I think the thing with Zach is he's never going to just lay down, right? Even if it's going bad, that's just not his makeup, one. And two, he really attacks those boards, and that's the biggest thing for if you really want to get Onyeka out there. Like he really attacks the boards for a guy that's going to be playing 2, 3, 4. And obviously Jalen's a great rebounder and stuff like that. Dyson's a good rebounder for his position. So I just I obviously I am hashtag free DJ. Get him out of here. Hashtag Operation 3 new starters. So we just gotta we just gotta.
You
I
did actually
understand.
just touch on something,
Yeah.
because also pause. But
Yeah, I knew you were. I heard
if
that chuckle.
there's something Gilbert says a lot, right? Like practice is for the other players, right? Because the superstar, he not running plays, and he getting the ball half the time. He's like, all right, I got this. I'm gonna go take a shot. But when they were rebuilding this starting lineup, I know it seems like they're trying to build a team that works for Trey and Jalen, but could they have been building a team that works for Onyeka Okongwu? Because if he's ideally their third best player one day, but the weakest of the three, right? He's the guy that you need to supplement his weaknesses the most. If you can bring in a guard in Dyson who can go rebound and defend the point of attack to make it easier for Onyeka to play low, you can get a guy in Shea who plays the passing lanes, rebounds, does everything right. You surround Onyeka with all these guys that supplement his weaknesses, and now your third best player gets to pop a little bit. And this is a guy that you couldn't even figure out how to get on the floor before for the amount of minutes you wanted, just because you were so terrified of the rebounding. And not you personally. I don't know if y'all really care about rebounding. Me, I don't. I would take the finisher, right? But if you're an NBA coach, you are probably scared of it. So now you have a group around Onyeka that can make up for what he doesn't do well. And now you can play a guy that makes Trey and Jalen better, right? And by making this lineup Onyeka proof, I think that might be what unlocks a lot of things for this team. I mean, he has a really big chance of if he pops this year, this team will be very interesting.
So
47 wins is in reach, but delete that. I don't want people to hear. No, I'm just kidding.
So if I had to ask you, and this is for everyone in here too, what would be the ideal lineup for this team right now?
Are you asking me what's the best lineup or what's the ideal starting lineup?
I mean, I feel like that's the same, honestly.
The truth or what I want?
Wait,
it's tough,
okay.
right? Because NBA teams, they don't always start their best lineup for some reason, which I assume there's a strategy there that a coach could explain to me that I don't know that I'll agree with it, but I'll take his word for it.
I want to hear
our best lineup: Trey, Dyson, Bogey, Jalen, Onyeka.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I was about to
easily
hear.
their best lineup. Bogey's just the best shooter on the team. I think it's gonna give them the best, especially early on. It's definitely going to be the best one. Now, who knows how good Zach is? He might be in one of the better ones as long as he can shoot. But yeah, the Bogey Dyson lineup along with the big three is, I think, is there going to be their best lineup? I don't think they're going to start with that, but that's another question. I'll let someone else go in.
All right, so Marco, what would you say your ideal starting lineup would be on this team?
I'm gonna give you two lineups. I'm gonna give you the one I want and the one I project them to run. The one I want personally, is Trey, Dyson, Zach, Jalen, Onyeka. That might be unpopular because some people look at it as, can you trust Zach to start off real, blah blah blah, all this good stuff. Yeah, but if the shooting is real, he should have no problem being implemented into that starting lineup off rip. What I think they're going to try to run, Trey, Dyson, Bogey, Jalen, Onyeka. I feel like that's the one they're going to try to go out there with and hope for the best.
Chris, you already said your lineup, right? It was ideally it was trade Dyson Bogey, Jalen, and Leon. Did you say your lineup? You said what was the truth? Line.
Yeah, so the truth is probably going to be Trey. It's probably going to be Trey, Zach, Bogey, Jalen, Onyeka, honestly.
All shooting.
Yeah, I think that's
Yep.
going to be, I think that has a chance to be the best lineup because it's just going to be so disgusting offensively. And I think Zach, Jalen, and Double O will will it enough to be good enough defensively to where that'll be the best lineup. But
Does that lineup remind you of anything?
shh, be quiet. No, it does not really, not really. It was,
Zach's not like a big curly headed Kevin.
I don't see John Collins anywhere.
Yeah, but does I can't say.
Jalen's a much
Yeah.
better player than John
But I
Anyways,
think, yeah, go ahead.
no. That's the yeah. I mean, either way, at the end of the day, you're not going to have these. You're not going to be forced to play 20 minutes a game with your worst two-man pairing every game.
Facts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yep.
if Trey, the thing is, if Trey and Dyson aren't working one night, you can close with Bogey. If Trey and Zach's not working one night, you can close with Dre. If you know what I mean, so it's not one of those things where you're hammered into having to play DeJounte Murray at the beginning of the game and at the end of the game, and in the like I always say, the 20 minutes that matter, right? The 10 middle minutes, the 5 at the beginning, and the 5 at the end. You don't have to. You're not married to that like you were the last two seasons.
Right.
And what if
So
I told you that you remove the two worst defenders from the rotation entirely and replace them with an elite defender and someone you at least expect to be average to above average defensively and Zach,
somebody
right?
who's 6'10" and can move their
So
body is
Yeah.
really all it. Yeah.
instead of guys undersized for their position, they got plus height, plus length, and legit defensive ability. And if you're talking about, there's Bill Parcells had this saying like, if I can make the 53rd man on the roster better, I made the team better, right? And people that are wanting a superstar don't realize just how high they raise the floor defensively when you can remove your two worst defenders. Like by and large, like I love Bay gave us his all, like literally he gave us his knee. But easily the two worst defenders. And you replace them with guys who might be your two best defenders next year. We don't know where Zach is. I know that's putting a lot on him, but he is the number one pick, so I think we're allowed to.
On the perimeter,
right.
probably.
So
yeah,
it's that alone could have a huge impact, but it's so hard to judge what that impact is going to be until you see them play.
Yeah, to bridge off what Chris said as well, you're not married to the only thing you're married to now at closing is your 1 and your 4. So that means you have
And
three
that's it.
people. You have 3 people you can put in to base on the situation. If the other team you're going against has nothing but size, now you have nothing but size to put out there. You got a 6'8" shooting guard, a 6'9", 6'10" wing, 6'10" power forward, and you can juggle it between Onyeka and Clint depending on how the situation is. But I would want Onyeka if I had to choose. If you need more shooting, you have a center that can give you what Onyeka shot like 36% from 3 when he started.
33. It was 33.
33%. Yeah.
he shot it well when he got him up.
Yeah, when he gets him up. So even if you can run a mini, you can kind of copy the Celtics in a way. I know we spoke about that earlier. You can kind of copy the Celtics in a way because you throw Trey Bogey, Risha, Jalen, and Onyeka. Now you have a 5 that can at least get you some threes, and space the floor out because we know Trey works best with spacing. So you have lineup versatility this year versus what we had last year because if we tried to bench DeJounte, in the clutch moments, it would have been bad PR. Then it's all this other shit.
If
You're
we
not.
did that, he would have asked for a trade immediately. So
I wish we would have did that, so he did that. But hey, you have lineup versatility this year, and that's the fun part about it. You kind of have shades of the 21 roster with shades of a brighter future. So I like how we're going with this.
I do think, and I just realized this, I do think it is kind of funny to talking about the starting lineup because, in a way, it really doesn't even matter since, like, they have just so many options now, honestly, of with what they can do. Like, they can start Trey, Bogey, Hunter, Jalen, and Capella. That is incredibly unpopular, but that lineup could
How
probably be
dare you?
fine.
I'm sorry.
And I know people don't like that. I'm not endorsing it, even though I don't think that lineup played once last year. But I'm just saying.
Shouldn't.
But like, like it's like they just have options. They have like way more versatility than they have
Yeah,
had
yeah.
in the past
But
few years.
and to your point there, right? So we'll to paint the picture, say you're a mechanic and you're trying to put this car back together and you just literally don't have the pieces, right? Quinn Snyder's reaching into his tool bag and he's like, man, I really need a 6'8" small forward to stick on this guy. And there's no piece, right? Think you're reaching for your wrench. Ain't no wrench. You got to take a screwdriver, a couple screwdrivers, and you putting things together, trying to throw Garrison Matthews and Wesley Matthews out there together, like, all right, y'all stand on top of each other's shoulders, like Little Rascal style, and y'all defend this forward. Right? We just literally didn't have the tools in the toolbox. Quinn Snyder didn't have the pieces that he needed to even try to really scheme anything up defensively. So now he legitimately does, right? If you go out, if you're looking at the draft, they basically took the tallest perimeter player available that like wasn't a big and Ricochet. That's what they needed. They needed someone giant. And then they go trade for Dyson. So they just got the pieces they need to throw out there at least to start, right? And then we'll see how it looks in February and I'll start making my demands.
Facts.
I think for me with the starting lineup question is just if Ricochet can show that he can shoot really well, he has no choice but to start, and that's it. That's really my opinion on it. That's basically it. He's basically an automatic lock because you cannot just start us. You can't not start like a 6'9" guy that can shoot. Like you have to start him no matter what. Like I don't
That's what I
care.
was told when DeAndre
Yeah.
Hunter got handed starts for like 4 years. So,
But
but
no,
what
no,
I'll
no,
say to
no.
that
He
is
could
they
shoot as
finally
well during certain years.
they
Though, to be
finally
fair.
do have an excuse to just
Yeah.
start a guy that can shoot it. Because when you have Dyson Daniels, right? Here's the whole thing about the DeAndre Hunter, right? Everyone kept telling me, this is what everyone told me every summer, like he's our only 6'8" defender, he's our best defender, he has to start. Well, now you got Dyson Daniels, which means that you can sit DeAndre Hunter down and then you can play someone else. And if Zach actually can shoot, they pretty much should start him. Yeah, if I'm Landry Fields or Steve Koonin, I am begging Quinn Snyder to start Zachary Ricochet. So I don't have to answer the questions about why the number one pick isn't starting. For a team that got the number one pick, like, look, it's not like you traded for it. Like, you got that thing by being pretty bad last year. And now you got to look people in the eyes and tell them you're too good to start this guy. Good luck. But, yeah, not my job.
Yeah, I feel now that you have size now, and the size is always the big key when you already have you know a undersized point guard. Now,
Pause.
all right, buddy. But I have been on record saying I still don't believe in the undersized point guard and undersized center, but I have done some research to make sure I was not tripping. And Trey and Onyeka is a very good duo. I think it's just more so on the defensive end. I'm worried about Onyeka's rebounding. And even though rebounding is not truly as important as some, we can make it. He has Jalen next to him. Dyson is going to go get some boards. I expect Ricochet to get up there and get some boards. So you have four people that's going to help on the board. So it kind of makes up for his lack of whatever. So yeah, like you said, you got ties around Trey. I feel like you just got to go from there and run it.
Yeah, that's basically really it for the most part. I think that's basically it for this episode, right? I mean, until media day.
I mean, we can.
I feel like we can yap a little bit more.
Yeah, we can get we can get a little bit more into the 2, 3, and 5 stuff if we want to.
I mean, I'm down whatever we got.
Yeah, no Kobe talk.
No.
I
I
mean,
do have to bring up Kobe, sadly, but I don't want to bring up Kobe right now. I do want to bring up our Swiss Army knife.
To set that up.
because I
Um,
mean,
No.
we kind of
Who's the
just
Swiss Army
transition.
knife?
Or
Which Swiss Army knife are you talking about?
We kind of just transitioned into the next. A lot of people don't want
V.
to. Nah, not V. But he
okay.
could have. He's arguable for it. A lot of people don't want to bring it up. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge he exists. But my man Gary Bird,
I knew you was finna say that fucking.
Gary
my
Bird.
man Gary Bird, he
For
led the
what
league.
position?
I trust him more at shooting guard than wing, but I also have to realize that I did not know he was 6'8".
Starting?
No, not starting. No. I
He's
said
He
not
Swiss
is
Army.
not
6'8".
6'8".
He's not six
He's
eight.
not
He's
six
six
What?
eight
He
Like
also.
might be
He's like
6'4".
6'4".
oh, 6'4".
You
Well, shit.
if Gary Bird was 6'8", he'd be making like
Bro, he would have got a bag.
he'd be making like
He
$12
would
All
be
right,
million
here.
look,
a year.
Like he would be here.
look, that's on me. That's on me. But nah. All right, but look, what I'm saying is, I do trust him more at the 2 than the 3. That should be, anyways. That is our
He was
Swiss
playing at
Army.
3 last year. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I do trust him more at the 2. He led the league in his 3-point percentage with 44%. If I'm not correct, I'm not mistaken, 40%, 44.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it was up there.
it was
Yeah.
up there. It was up there. And he did the little things, and we never had a person that really did the little things. We haven't had a person to really take charges like he took charges. When you needed a quick 3, it most likely was automatic because one thing he's going to do, he's going to shoot it. It doesn't matter if one person is in front of him, he's going to shoot it. It's just like Bogey. Bogey won't take the open shot, but Bogey sees 2 people in front of him, he's going to shoot it. And I don't know why, but it goes in. So I feel like Gary is that like that random person you can have come off the bench. He'll give you about 4 threes. He'll do the little things. He'll play a little hard. He'll give you some type of defense a little bit. So I feel like he'll be introduced more than people want to, incorporate, but not as a full-time role if you understand what I'm saying.
He could be like a 10th or 11th man. I see that.
Hawks history says they're going to need that guy. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a guy
Yeah,
that
I
can do
mean
little
he'll
things.
play.
there's a few scheduled injuries.
The problem is I don't want to see him playing 20 minutes at the 3 in the middle of February. You know what I
It's a
mean?
bad
If
sign.
he's playing
Yeah,
15
of
minutes
course,
at the
yeah.
2 in the middle of February, then I'm okay with that because you're going to shoot. You're going to stick your nose in every play, and you're going to try to get every charge you can. Like, and that kind of stuff, it matters. It it keeps the other team on their toes and stuff like that. So,
Facts.
I mean,
And if
I got
if
love
you're
for Gary Bird.
if you're trying to get Bogey to May and April, and you have hopes of being there in the postseason, then it does help to have Gary Bird who can step in and I'm not sure if the Hawks are ever going to institute off nights for Bogey. Maybe Bogey's the type of guy that they literally like have to hide his uniform to keep him off the floor. But if you do want to give Bogey an off night, or take like back to backs or something. You don't want to play the first half, first leg of it or something. Well, Gary Bird is kind of the perfect player to just throw in there, right? He's about the same size and shoots. Got that thing on him, just like Bogey. So, yeah, I like Garrison. Are we talking like? I mean, yeah, I can't say 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th man. I, doing the minutes game, I think Kobe is probably going to be in that 9th man area, getting whatever's left over from Trey. But I think whenever you do have an injury or someone gets tired, right, Garrison can get out there.
Yep.
I think one last thing on Gary for me is you brought up Kobe, and I think we've been saying to ourselves, okay, second unit, you're gonna have Kobe, Bogey, Dre. Well, if right, you want to, you're doing well. Say you're 5-6 games over 500 in the middle of early March, late February, and you want to lean more into Kobe's creation. You let Bogey sit a night. You play Gary Bird. You know he's not going to give you the level of self-creation or initiation that you're going to get from Bogey. So you kind of lean that into Kobe so that you can develop him as an on-ball player at the NBA level a little bit better. And
Yeah.
that's something. And you're not going to lose anything as far as just the catch and shoot is concerned because it's Gary Bird, right? So it's just that's why we keep saying it's just a better team all the way down than it was last season, where you had these two guys up top that do all the same things, except one does it way better than the other one. And they don't belong on the floor together. They just don't belong on the basketball court together. And it just is what it is.
Yep.
Well, yeah, to that point about the Kobe Gary thing, it's so my kind of vision for Kobe is I'm a little bit probably more old school than some people than you guys in terms of basketball. Like I look at a guy like Kobe, and I'm not sure what his real role is. Like he's not a true playmaker. When I see a guard like that can get offense, but he's not really a playmaker. I just instantly go sixth man, like combo guard. And if you can build a lineup around Kobe that can play, where it's just Kobe and a bunch of shooters, and you can space the floor, kind of let him do his little wiggle and get to some space and get his shots off, because just creating some space and letting Kobe find his shot for a while is a nice way to let him develop at the NBA level. He doesn't have to kind of be where he needs to be. Like if he's not where he needs to be for Trey, like Trey gonna be in his ass, right? Or he's in the way for Jalen, or he's in the way for Onyeka. But you give Kobe a lineup, right, with Bogey and Gary or Dre and a bunch of guys that can space it and get out of the way. Throw Clint out there to set a screen for him. Let him get downhill and just run around in some space. I think that would be great for Kobe's development.
Yeah.
And then he won't be in Trey's way.
Yeah.
And that'll make Trey happy.
Yeah. If you want Kobe to excel, you want Kobe to run that second unit. You really want to see what Kobe can do. And if you want Kobe to excel, you also want him to, play with optimal spacing. Kobe likes that off dribble into the midi. He has some DeJounte like qualities, but you got to give him the best spacing. You want him to be Kobe. You do your thing with it and all that.
And for all intents and purposes, if DeJounte Murray was just my backup point guard last year, we would have been a better team.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Had to get that off.
I can say that. Yeah, that might be a hot take, but yeah, I say that.
It's a fair statement.
Facts. Very fair statement. So yeah.
It's just,
but I'm a hater though, so.
I mean, I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, the way you DM our fans. Like, what are we doing? Anyways, I think I had something. You got me with my DJ hate. Wow. Yeah, man, cohesion at the end of the day. And we talked about this at the end of they in their end of season, their exit interviews, they talked about how some guys are going to need to have to sacrifice. Right, that's what they needed from certain guys last season that they didn't get. And you got a guy like Dyson, who's, if you tell him, hey, look, I don't need you to take a shot this possession, he's gonna be like, all right, cool. Who am I passing to? Same thing with Zach, right? They don't have those insatiable egos where they have to be the man, and that can help you on a team that has one guy who is the man, and another guy who needs to kind of be pushed into those shoes, those big boy shoes a little bit. So, and Jalen, of course. So,
yeah.
You notice something about those players, by the way, that they have in common? The players without the egos that are willing to play roles.
I'm not gonna say it.
They're not from America. Look,
bro,
it's a bunch of internationals. All right, Onyeka is
you sound American. Like a passport, bro. This is a passport.
Look, these American wings, they want the ball, they want to get their stuff off. But Zach came over, he said, Coach, where you want me? Dyson, Coach, where you want me? Look, that's what I need around Trey, man. You need people that are willing to play their roles and do their thing. And look, go get me some more Euros if you need to, if that's what we need. If that's what we need to make it fit, do it.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah.
Hey. That is a statement, and that is a statement that can be true to some and wrong to some. Yeah. So that is.
I don't endorse it.
I'm middle ground here. Anyways, but yeah, he's right though. Zachary has came over and came in and like, hey, where do you want me? It's not I'm the number one pick, so I need to be featured immediately. It's more so. I'm willing to do what you need to do. If you need me to come off the bench, I'll come off the bench. If you want me to start, I'll start. If you want me to shine your shoes, I'll shine your shoes as long as I'm helping the team in some way. So, that's his mindset of it. I do want to also talk about an underrated player we might have gotten from the Pelicans, and that is Larry Nance.
Yeah.
They have him listed as a forward. I figured he was going to play backup forward regardless because we don't really have a backup forward to speak. He's naturally a center, but depending who he's paired with, it may work. He has a legit corner three, so even if he's paired with Clint, that's corner three, I guess.
Mm.
It's not ideal in the sense, but Jalen is going to be running with the second unit most likely. So
I
kind
would
of he's like filler, stopgap.
I would probably
So
rather pair him with Onyeka than Clint, honestly.
right. But the thing with Larry Nance is I'm in my mind, right? I'm like, if all hell breaks loose, right? And for 5 minutes I have to play Trey, Gary Bird, Bogey, Larry Nance, and Onyeka Okongwu. I don't hate that as
Yeah.
much as I don't hate it as much as I hate it. Like, no, I hate it to start. Like, if I'm forced to start that lineup, we're fucked. But I don't hate. I'm not gonna hate to see that for 5 minutes in the middle of the second quarter. I'm not gonna hate that because I've got three guys that are. I mean, at least two guys who are gonna hit a bunch of threes. Right, my elite ball handler and passer. Two guys who can both operate in the short roll and hopefully cute, Chris. And hopefully, two guys who are 6'9" and can also shoot a little. You know what I mean? And I'm really interested to see how Nance and Yeka lineups rebound. So that's going to be really interesting because you got two guys who actually play center, right? So you would think they both can handle enough of the rebounding responsibilities that you could at least get to par with the other teams as far as rebounding rate is concerned when those guys share the floor. So yeah, I think Larry Nance is very interesting because he's another guy who can operate in the short roll. Obviously, we talked about the corner three, and he's been around the block, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he's the only player on this team with finals experience. So just throw my hands up, but it is what it is.
I'll
Yeah.
be honest, I didn't know what this segment was about, but I picked it up like now. So I have a guy, so we're kind of throwing out backups that might have bigger roles than expected. Don Barlow, man. I think Don Barlow, if
I love
he
Barlow.
can be what you kind of described Larry Nance as, is if he can be our swing 4 or 5 guy, come in and kind of replace Clint, and be a good finisher, a rebounder, a guy that can play off of Jalen Onyeka. I'm not sure where Onyeka's game is shooting the three exactly. I'm not sure where Dom Barlow is in terms of spacing the floor, but I feel like if they can get anything out of him, you have a really cheap piece for one, but a guy that adds some length that they didn't have last year. I think I'm not sure how much bigger than Bruno Fernando he is, maybe an inch or two. But I think that's a guy that has some finishing ability and could be really, really interesting. Like, you got to get Trey as many finishes as possible. And when you got a young big like that, you got some legs that can get up and down the floor. And I think the Hawks are building a team that can run, especially at that 5 position, that 4 position. You have guys in Nance, Jalen, Onyeka that can all get up and down the floor kind of in a similar way. I think you're cooking, man. I think you're cooking. But yeah, I would like to see Don Barlow have a role. Now we'll see if that happens. I figure he'll start the season in the G League, but if he has a good start, man, I think that's a player that they're going to bring up pretty quick.
Yep.
In terms of secondary, not secondary, but underrated players that could have a bigger role in the coming season, and then we'll close it out. For me, it will be Vít Krejci. Everyone loves Vít. He's like the best bench guy you could have, but he really took a big jump this year. Like, I was just surprised about how well he played defensively. He is also a really good passer too, and I think the big question for me is the shooting from three real or not? Like, if it is, then I think you could just have this really interesting player that I don't think you have a choice but to play at that point because his skill set is just so important for this team. Like during that period when Trey was out last season, his passing and his cutting was really helping carry that offense when Trey was out. So I feel like that they kind of may need to play Veet eventually in the season if the shooting is real for Veet. But if it isn't, then I don't know what they're gonna do with him. But we'll see.
I very much support surrounding Trey with a Veet Dyson guard battery. Now, I don't want any to participate in Kobe Buffkin erasure, despite what anyone has seen on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues with Kobe Buffkin. I think
It's-
he will be a very nice player, and he could be a really good backup for Trey. But the value of a 6'8" backup for Trey, and then a 6'8" dude playing next to him, and you know what I'm saying, you're really, really putting together something that people are going to have trouble scoring on. And I think the whole thing with the Hawks, right, is we're trying to get to a point where we can do our thing on offense and make it hard for the other team to score for once in the Trey Young era. And I think B could be a big part of that. And as many tall defenders as you can get.
Yeah. V. I think I've said it before in the group chat or whatever. I said V could, potentially be a backup point guard, essentially, because he's more of a. I put it like this. I was like, if V is your backup point guard, and 9 times out of 10, Jalen is going to run with the second unit, and 9 times out of 10, Bogey is going to be with the second unit. If we're going by what we're basing it off last year, Bogey being 6-man. I feel like Vit will be fine at backup point guard because he wouldn't have a large playmaking role as you think he would. You have Jalen out there, you have Bogey out there. They both have playmaking ability. Vit more so being a connective player as well. On top of that, it works out perfectly. So I feel like if that backup point guard position was up for grabs and they were like it's between Vit and Kobe, I feel like Vit has a solid chance of taking that.
Yeah, I basically agree with that. Go ahead, Leon.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. Oh boy, yeah. I think the biggest thing with Vit is the shooting real. Obviously, we got a 30-game sample size of that, whereas basically, in the rest of his basketball career, he's been a bad to terrible shooter. No, if the shooting's real, if the coaching staff can convince him to be as aggressive as they need their guards to be for their system to work, with consistency, right, is really the key. Then yeah, I'm all for Vit being the backup point guard. That being said, they're gonna be on their. Hey, why'd you draft a guard 15 overall? If you're gonna bring a guy who was in the G League last year, unaffiliated, to be your backup point guard. Can you scout? Can you coach? Can you develop players? The Hawks never develop anybody, is what they're saying.
I mean, the reason that's happening is because they did develop a guy, right? V got developed and he got good. And when you have too many good players, it happens. People get squeezed, and that's how you end up where the Pelicans were, where they had a guy like Dyson Daniels they could trade with some picks to get DeJounte Murray. And that's how the Hawks can get better, is by finding these diamonds in the rough like V and maybe turning Don Barlow into something, or Garrison Matthews. You get him on the national stage at some point, national but regional, but you get him out there and you show teams for consistent span that he's a basketball player. But now you got some pieces that you can throw together. Now I don't know who they're going to try to get, and I'm sure we'll talk about that another day. But yeah, when you can, the reason Kobe might get buried is because the Hawks have low-key been developing players, and Vita is a big example of that.
And let's be honest, did anyone really expect Veet to improve this much? No offense to him, but
nobody. He didn't even start the season on the Hawks, right?
To be fair, I have always said that Vit Krejci was a 3-ball away from being an NBA player.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
he was always
5,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this is the truth.
I'm just saying that's the example of the sudden progression he made, and how unexpected it is. It came out of nowhere.
Right, but a lot of the times when we say that, we're talking about guys who are high-end prospects who, had the athleticism or, like the, elite driving ability, right? You don't really say that with role players because role players are supposed to be able to shoot, right? If you're a role player on the wing, you have to shoot. You know what I mean? And the thing
Oh
with
yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
he kind of had everything else. He had the okay, how to attack a closeout and make the pass, or attack the closeout, cut into space and make a play for somebody else without even touching the ball because he's not from America. But but like if you don't have a three ball, it doesn't matter, right? That's why Jared Culver is in the G League.
Yeah. Sadly,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. If you can't shoot, you don't get on the floor in the NBA now, and they've figured out what they need to do. I mean, everybody's kind of copying the LeBron thing, right? Space it, but we'll talk about this another day. But it's because players are kind of dumb now, and you can't really run offense anymore.
Exactly.
Hopefully, the Hawks can get some smart players in. I do think Trey's a higher IQ player. I think Jalen's a higher IQ player, and I do think they're planning on getting some motion back in to their offense that they used to have under Lloyd Pierce. They used to do a lot more complex things. They were a little bit. They were doing then what people are doing now offensively. I feel like the Kings almost are copying what the Hawks were doing. The Hawks were doing a lot of handoff stuff between Bogey and Kevin and Trey. And Trey was actually getting some catch and shoot threes because those two were allowed to work on the ball and hand it off. And Clint and John were running double drag screens, and they were doing a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe Quinn gets that back in, and you have some high IQ players, and Trey can look like a smart basketball player again.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yep, that's
double
I feel like that's
bring back double drag.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to use Trey to his fullest, you got to mix it up. You got to get a good portion of on and off ball in, and in order to get the off ball in, you got to have players that can actually initiate, his off ball. So yeah, that's and under Quinn they've all improved. I guess we can call this like the Swiss Army knife topic, by the way. But under Quinn they've all improved. Like you said, Veet, we didn't really expect Veet to get that jumper, but he got it under Quinn. And he's not scared to shoot it either. I remember he used to be like really hesitant to really like shoot it, but he's not scared to shoot it now. As soon as he's open, he's stroking that thing. Pause.
Yeah.
But
well, something Glenn says all the time. Well, Glenn quoting Quinn, right? He says that Quinn just wants them to have the willingness to shoot the ball. It's not so much about the result all the time, but you have to keep shooting. You have to be a threat. And eventually, you play the numbers right. Even good shooters have a bad streak, and you got to be willing to shoot through that. Right? Maybe it's your first 20. You got to shoot through it and go from there. That's all Quinn cares about.
Can't be willing. If you're open, take that three. Like unless your name's Clint Capella, don't take that three. But if you're open, take that three.
Yeah, kick it out, Quinn. If you're listening, swing the rock, homie.
Take that three. That's what Quinn wants you to do. Normally, Brad, even if you listen to Brad's podcast, Locked on Hawks, free plug Brad. But anyway, you listen to Brad, if you get up about 30 plus threes a game, you usually win that game. Usually. Now it's just a matter of making them, but most teams that average like 30, 40 threes a game, they usually win the game because they space the floor out that much. And you keep shooting that much, you're kind of making them. So
yeah.
I like to pose a question to the group.
We can end it on this.
Yeah. There are two players who we all specifically don't want to start. Yeah. I won't name them. You know who they are.
Yep.
The question is, if one of them started, which one would disappoint you more, Dre or Clint?
Dre.
Disappoint me more. Damn, you hit
I
me
think
with a twist
the answer
at the
for
end of
me,
that.
Dre.
It probably would be like it really depends on like the full. I will have to see the full line.
I know that's what you wanted.
Okay.
I know that's what you wanted. But
okay.
Just in a vacuum, which starter would disappoint you more, Dre or Clint? Still starting at the beginning of the season.
Clint, if Clint is starting, then it really does mean that Onyeka came in another season and really didn't just take hold of that job. And I think we know what Clint Capella is. So if he's starting, then that means that Onyeka didn't become what we need him to be.
Yeah,
so that
I was gonna say Dre. but because it's just like because maybe they just felt like Reese Terry wasn't ready or something, and I guess we didn't have any other options. But if Clint's starting, like you said, Chris, it's just that means that Yucky isn't ready. And if Yucky's not ready, then you just need to trade him. Because what's the point?
No, well, you're starting off with that already, huh?
I mean, yeah,
Damn, episode 1.
I
Episode
know.
1, we're starting off with that.
That's a big hot
crazy.
take, but like
But I'm already on that train. But hey, you said it,
Yeah.
not me.
I mean, you draft the guy 6th overall. He's on his 2nd contract, and
6th year in the league too.
he and like it's a good contract. We all agree, like
it
that's a
is
pretty good contract.
Very
That
smooth.
being said, he did get a raise. He did get a raise, right? So he's making more money than he was making on his rookie deal. That's usually what happens, right? Usually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, like it's not like he was drafted 15. You know, he's like if you're drafted 15 and you're a career backup, that's a success. That's the reality.
So, I'm tripping out
that
right now
shot
because
is
like
loud.
the fact.
But if you're
how
drafted
did
6th and you're not a career backup and you're a career backup, they're gonna call you a bust.
I don't think anybody would have predicted us talking about trading Onyeka Okongwu before we talked about trading DeAndre Hunter.
Well, I'm not talking
that
about.
happened?
I'm not talking about trading him. I'm just saying
it came up before we came up talking about Dre because I mean it's actually the exact same situation, right? Both of Dre was a starter first, and now he's likely coming off the bench possibly. But yeah, when you talk about a top 5, 6 pick, whatever they both are, you really expect them to do more. And both of them are now on their second deals, and we still don't really know if they're gonna be what we need them to be. And so the Hawks are in a bit of limbo there. But that's why you saw them draft a small forward to hopefully replace Dre.
Man.
And this could be the year for Onyeka.
Nathaniel McMillan, man. We not developing.
They're already ready.
I want to get my answer in.
But when you say you are developing, people get mad.
I want to get my answer in on this. For the who would I be more mad starting? I'm still going to stick with Dre, simply because we have proved a little bit that if you have some type of connective player at that 3 spot, which is not Dre. Dre is a lot of people aren't going to like it. Dre is selfish. He's selfish. He's going to take that. He's going to take that terrible pull up. He's going to take that terrible pull up, but he's selfish. But every time we've had a connective player at that 3, it kind of flows more. It flows better. You know, they play their role at 3. They don't try to overstep their role. They don't try to, do the extra. So if I had to pick a lineup without anybody to be without Dre, because at least I know Clint is going to be Clint. I know what to expect from Clint, and I get what you're saying that damn, if Clint is starting again, it's kind of like damn, Onyeka, you couldn't take his spot in training camp, because he's on the expiry now, so we can't use politics we can't keep.
You couldn't send that old man out like old Yellers.
Bro, I wasn't gonna bring up the Dre selfish stuff, and I don't know exactly if this is a result of it, but what I will say is I want everybody to just think about what the first play the Hawks run every game is, and it is almost always a play for Dre, and that's the type of thing that you do for a player is like, we got to get this guy going, right? And if you got a guy you got to get going every night.
All I'm saying is every time Dre is the leading scorer, we lose.
But he had 35 in Miami.
We lost.
I was gonna say, did we win that game?
We lost.
But Marco, he had 35. He was the best player on the floor, Marco. Come on.
We lost. Well, he can be the best player. He might be the best fry cook at McDonald's, but if I'm not pushing out those 2 for 3s, we lost.
People are making the best out of a spit sandwich.
If I'm not pushing out those 2 for 3s, we lost. Somebody went to business school.
Yeah, we were professional again, and then we started going at players. We loved them. Some of them.
Hey man, we got the mini me's off the team, replaced them with some guys with some hype, like Chris said. So hopefully that means Dre, the smallest 6'8" player in the NBA, will not be starting anymore.
But honestly,
6'8", 225, and can't do shit.
As long as one of them isn't starting, I will say it's kind of a new era for the Hawks. You can officially say it's a new era if Dre or Clint is not starting in the opener.
Oh man, imagine if they both start.
I was gonna say if they are starting, not exactly not exactly a great sign for the start of the new era. They might have to find some new guys to get it
All I
going.
know is if the starting
Man.
lineup is Trey, Bogey, Dre, Jalen, and Clint, we failed. We didn't get it. We didn't pick up
Like,
any.
well, I'm not gonna say it's bad, but I would be
I would be disappointed
disappointed.
because we didn't learn anything.
Disappointed.
We learned that
Yeah,
Bogey is somewhat better off the bench. And that's how you preserve Bogey too. I'm very much on. We might be getting off topic, and I know we want to end it. I just want to get
yeah.
this point out. Whatever. I feel like the key moving forward, if you want a deep playoff run and you want to be fine, you have to preserve your knee injury players, and that is Bogey and Dre. I shit on Dre. I do what I do about Dre, but I can't say Dre is not good off the bench. So with that being said, if I have the opportunity to preserve Bogey, who just played 79 games, by the way, after
And the
2
Olympics.
major knee surgeries. Meanwhile, Hunter has not eclipsed 60 games yet.
He has. It's just been a minute, I think. Well, I think he did like a year
Probably
ago.
rookie year.
No, I think he did like a year ago. I gotta check. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, fact checking me on that. I don't want to,
Yeah.
stick
Yeah, it
with
might
a
have been
lie.
last year. Not
Right.
like year
I don't
before
want to
last.
stick with a lie and say it is facts, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean the truth is, like, 'cause you remember those two
Hasn't
middle
happened twice.
seasons, like his rookie year and his second year were both short seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but still, what I say has, what you get what I'm saying. But if I have the chance to preserve those players that I know I'm going to need for a deep playoff run, do it. If I have to sit Dre, if I have to play Dre one night for 16 minutes because now I have wings that can fill in for what we were missing, it's
Yeah, but
fine.
I feel like he's gonna. You know, I don't think he's gonna go for that.
Well, this
I'm just
season,
calling it
say
what
you
it
have to
is.
say you have to sit Dre for a month again this season. Well, now you actually do have Zach and Dyson, right?
You have
To
Zach
Yeah.
play.
Dyson, Dyson, and Veet.
You're not completely
And David
devoid
Roddy,
of guys that can
David
play the
Roddy,
three.
the God.
David Roddy,
All right,
yeah,
buddy.
it's a big
A
dude.
3-pointer away from
I'm
being
actually really excited to
decent,
see what Roddy can
maybe.
do, bro. That's a guy like I don't want to wish an injury on anybody, but maybe that gives somebody the night off. I would like to see Roddy get out there. I feel like Trey would Trey would make him do something like awesome. I don't know what it would be, like some three or some dunk, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I think
mean,
they would
Yeah.
he's
link up.
6'4", but he knows, like, he's a basketball. He's one of those guys who's a real basketball player. You know what I mean? He's gonna get
He's
in
a
there.
yeah
He's gonna box out.
in a football
Right.
body.
If you give him a hand grenade with like 4 seconds left on the clock, like he'll fuck around and create a decent shot for himself because that's what he did for 3 years in college. Was
Yeah.
just
Or
get
catch a
hand
body,
grenades.
right? He'll just like
Yes,
one
and
dribble and
also
then
might catch a body, right? And that's the kind of stuff you want on your and that's our 12th guy, right? So, hey, I'll take it. I can't wait to see him on the court with Trey too. I think that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. But like I said, we got off topic a little bit, and I know we are supposed to close it out a little thing. So, Ant, you got anything you want to, closing questions, anything like that?
Not really. I mean, I think we talked basically about everything we could. I think right now until media day. So
no final thoughts.
No final
I
Oh,
was
I
sure
mean,
you would do final thoughts, and it's your
I mean,
signature.
yeah. I mean, you guys have any final thoughts? I mean, it's gonna be a long season. I think the Hawks are gonna do decently well. I think that's my final thoughts. Leon, do you have any final thoughts?
47 wins, baby. That's all I got. That's all I got.
All
You
right.
know? Big dicks in town.
Whoa, okay.
No pause.
All right.
No more shrimps.
All right.
We sent the shrimps to New Orleans
All right. All right. Okay.
and Washington, apparently. Whatever.
All right.
On his bum knee. Bye.
Okay.
Chris, any final thoughts?
My final thought is centered around Dyson Daniels. He's been on my mind quite a bit lately. If you follow me on Twitter, you can tell. But that was a player I was campaigning for even back in the last season. It was just something the Hawks really needed. I talked a lot in the spaces about how much a point of attack defender would impact just the team as a whole. It just lets everyone kind of go to their home defensively and fit in their ideal role. And I think Quinn finally got his Royce O'Neal. I think he's been thirsting for a defender of Dyson's style of play, his mental makeup, the way he wants to fit into a team. I think, and defend and just be a good teammate. And I think Quinn finally got his guy. So that's what my final thought is on.
And finally, not last but not least, Marco, any final thoughts?
This was first episode. We kind of everywhere with it. I promise we'll be better in the future. Hey, I never gave my standings, but I guess I'll say that now. I do project us to be top 6 if injuries don't stop us. That's been our issue. I believe more in the team this year than I did last year. We got size at every position. You complimented Trey and Jalen. I feel like. So yeah, I feel like it should be a good season, and yeah, go Hawks.
All right. Thank y'all for coming in here, and see you all next time on the next episode of Hard Knock Hawks.